The CEO's daughter had everything a person could ever dream of: wealth, beauty, and the perfect life. But one tragic accident left her paralyzed from the waist down. Everyone thought she would never walk again. That is, until the unlikeliest person, the housekeeper, did something no one expected, something that changed everything. Sophia, the only daughter of one of the wealthiest CEOs in the country, had everything she could ever want. Her life was like a dream, filled with luxury, privilege, and endless opportunities. From attending exclusive schools to traveling the world with her family, Sophia was accustomed to living a life of comfort. She was the epitome of grace, intelligence, and beauty. But one fateful evening, everything changed. On her way back from a charity gala, the car she was traveling in collided with another vehicle at high speed. The crash was devastating. The world outside the car faded into a blur, and when Sophia finally regained consciousness, she was in a hospital bed surrounded by her family. The doctors had grim news. Sophia had sustained severe spinal injuries and was paralyzed from the waist down. Her world came crashing down in that moment, and the dreams she had for herself seemed shattered. Her once vibrant and carefree life was now confined to a hospital room. The wealthy CEO father and doting mother, who had always been by her side, were at a loss for how to help. Despite their attempts to provide her with the best medical care, nothing seemed to bring her the relief she needed. Sophia felt trapped within her own body, unable to escape the reality of her condition. The accident, a momentary lapse in time, had forever altered the course of her life. She couldn't fathom living the rest of her days in a wheelchair, and the pain of it all left her feeling utterly lost, her future uncertain and bleak. The months following Sophia's accident felt like an eternity. The vibrant woman who once danced through life with laughter and joy was now a shadow of herself. Her home, once filled with the noise of lively conversations and the clinking of glasses, now seemed eerily quiet. Sophia spent her days in her bedroom, staring out of the window, watching the world move on without her. Her family, though deeply affected by her condition, struggled to know how to help her heal emotionally. Her father was consumed by his business affairs, while her mother, though loving, was too overwhelmed by grief to provide the support Sophia needed. The staff, who had always treated her with care, were now walking on eggshells around her. They did their best to offer comfort, but no one truly knew what to say. The housekeeper, Maria, however, remained a constant presence in her life. While others hesitated, unsure of how to treat the once vibrant young woman who had been reduced to a figure in a wheelchair, Maria never changed. She continued to do her duties, but always found time to sit with Sophia, offering a listening ear or a simple word of encouragement. Maria didn't see Sophia as a victim or a tragedy, but as a person who had lost her way. Despite the wealth that surrounded her, Sophia's isolation grew. She felt the distance between herself and everyone else widening. There were no solutions, no promises of recovery, just a silent struggle that she couldn't bring herself to voice. Maria's quiet, unassuming presence was the only thing that kept her from sinking deeper into despair. She knew that in Maria's eyes she was still someone worth believing in. Sophia's days had become a repetitive cycle of hopelessness, each one blending into the next with no end in sight. But Maria, ever persistent, refused to let her fall into complete despair. One afternoon, as Sophia sat by the window once again, watching the world outside, Maria entered with a tray of tea. "You've been through so much," Maria said softly, placing the cup in front of Sophia. "But I believe there's still hope for you." Sophia didn't respond at first, her gaze fixed on the empty street below. Maria's words weren't the first attempt at encouragement, but something about the way she spoke, with quiet conviction, stirred something deep inside. "Sophia, I'm tired, Maria. I've tried everything and it doesn't matter. I can't walk. I'm never going to be the same again." Maria sat beside her, her voice gentle but firm. "You might feel like that now, but you're not broken. You're just lost. You don't have to give up on yourself." For the first time in a long while, Sophia felt a spark of something she hadn't known she was missing: hope. Maria wasn't a doctor, and she had no medical qualifications, but her unwavering faith in Sophia ignited a determination Sophia hadn't realized she still possessed. She was so used to relying on professionals and experts, but Maria's simple belief in her was powerful. Slowly, Sophia began to think. Maybe she didn't have to accept her fate so easily. With a quiet nod, she made a decision. She would try. Not for anyone else, but for herself. It would be hard, and the road ahead uncertain. But for the first time in months, Sophia was ready to fight. As the days turned into weeks, Sophia's life began to shift in small but significant ways. Maria's presence had become more than just a comforting constant. It had transformed into the foundation of Sophia's newfound resolve. Every morning, Maria would gently encourage her to attempt small movements, guiding her through stretches and exercises that seemed impossible at first. It was painful, excruciating even, but with every attempt, Sophia felt a glimmer of something she hadn't felt in months: strength. Maria was patient, never rushing her, never pushing too hard. She simply believed in Sophia's potential, and that belief slowly began to seep into Sophia's own heart. Slowly, she started to gain control over her legs again, though it was nothing more than slight muscle contractions at first. But it was progress. It was something. One day, after weeks of work, Maria took a deep breath and said, "Today, we'll try something different. Just a few steps." Sophia hesitated, the fear of failure gripping her chest, but Maria's unwavering gaze gave her the courage to try. With Maria's hands guiding her waist, Sophia placed one foot in front of the other, her legs trembling with the effort. It was shaky, awkward, and far from graceful, but she moved. For the first time since the accident, Sophia felt the ground beneath her feet, her legs supporting her, if only for a moment. Tears filled Sophia's eyes as she steadied herself, her heart racing with a mixture of disbelief and joy. It wasn't much, but it was a beginning. A miracle was happening, one small step at a time. And for the first time in months, Sophia dared to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could walk again. Months passed, and the progress Sophia made was nothing short of miraculous. The road had been long and filled with setbacks, but each day she grew stronger, more determined, and closer to her goal. With Maria's unwavering support, Sophia's body began to heal in ways even the doctors hadn't predicted. The exercises became less painful, her steps more confident. It was no longer about simply trying. It was about believing that she could do it. Sophia wasn't just regaining her strength. She was reclaiming her life. One bright morning, as the sun filtered through her bedroom window, Sophia stood at the edge of the room, her hands gripping the wall for support. Maria stood beside her, her eyes filled with quiet pride. "Today is the day," Maria said, her voice calm but full of certainty. Sophia took a deep breath and took her first unassisted step across the room. It was shaky, her legs trembling beneath her. But she didn't stop. She kept going, each step stronger than the last until she reached the door. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized what she had just done. She had walked unaided for the first time in months. When her parents walked in and saw her standing there, their faces filled with disbelief and wonder, they rushed to her side. Her father, tears in his eyes, held her close, amazed by her strength and resilience. "You did it, Sophia," he whispered. "You really did it." Sophia smiled through her tears, her heart full. It hadn't been easy, and the road ahead would still be tough, but in that moment, she knew that anything was possible. And it was all thanks to the housekeeper who had believed in her when no one else did. Maria had done the impossible, and so had she.